I've got a fight commentator all the way from London, UK. I've got Kyle Dimond. Thank you so much, Kyle, for joining me on the show today.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Yes, of course. I want to say Happy New Year. It's the first time talking to you in the year 2025. So Happy New Year to you. It's interesting to see that Adesanya is saying, don't count me out yet. I'm still in action. I'm still one who is still the last style bender. But Adesanya holds a 5-inch range advantage. Great fun for a fighter. But for Imavov, I would say he's 29 years old and he's 6 years younger than Adesanya. Though Imavov also has got a 4.51 to 4.0 advantage in significant strikes that he has had. So he's also posting 59.69% accuracy mark, and in those strikes that he has had. But for Adesanya has got 51.53%. Cal, how crucial will distance control be in this fight, especially against a pressure fighter like Imavov?
Yeah, it'll be massively important. Imavov is on a really good run right now, but he has never faced anyone who is the level of striker that Israel Adesanya is. And so keeping that range, keeping the fight where he wants it will be so crucial to Izzy, as it always is in all of his fights. That's where he does his best work, is at range. If he can stop Imavov from doing what he wants to do, that's whether he wins or loses. You know, that really is the key to victory for Izzy in this fight.
All right, it's going to be a big pressure for Izzy indeed. Imavov is one on the rise. Yes, he's looking to make a name for himself in this division, so Israel must take note of that. He has rattled 3 wins in a row, back to back to back. He's got 3 wins, unlike Adesanya. Now, Kyle, given his ability to adapt quickly and the strategies that he's about to apply against Adesanya, what particular approach or even strategy do you expect him to employ to neutralize Adesanya's striking? Because Adesanya's striking is on another level, and even every single fighter that has gone against Adesanya, they'll always testify he strikes so well. So how will Imavov be able to neutralize that strike?
Imavov's greatest strength, I think, is that he's a little bit of a dark horse in the division. There aren't too many people, people are seeing now how good he is, but, his skill set is very well-rounded. So it doesn't maybe get the same plaudits that someone like Adesanya gets because he's so good at one aspect. Imavov is just very good across the board, and I think that's how he wins the fight. A kickboxing match against Adesanya is going to be very, very difficult for him. But if he's able to mix everything, implement some grappling, and keep Adesanya guessing, keep him on the back foot, then that is going to be the key to it. It'll be using the fact that he is a dark horse, utilizing his all-round skill set. And we've seen that in his recent wins as well. So we know he has that in his locker. It's just whether he can do it against somebody who is as proven at the highest level as the last style bender.
All right, I've been wondering, since he took up this fight, I've been wondering why he really did take this non-pay-per-view fight, non-title fight. What's behind it? I've been, trying to wrap my head around Adesanya's intention. For you to be able to prove yourself, you take a non-title fight. I'm wanting to know what's at the end for him. But Imavov has got 0.88 takedown advantage. Adesanya should be wary, and he has 36% accuracy when he take any of his fighter down. Great numbers there. His submission average is 1.18. So Adesanya also should be careful of that. If you compare Imavov's record with Adesanya just got 0.05 takedown advantage and 12.50% compared to 56% from Imavov. The accuracy is in top notch. Now Adesanya is going up against one who he's not fighting for the title. I'm hoping that he can bring the same aura he does when he fights for the title in this bout against Imavov. Let's talk about the attempt to break through Adesanya's defense. Do you think Imavov will be able to break through the defense? And then if this fight goes to the ground, will Imavov be able to break through Adesanya's defense?
I think Imavov will have the advantage in the grappling. Like I said, he's very well-rounded, and that's kind of his best attribute, whereas we've seen it many times. Israel is far too good on the feet when he's allowed to implement his kickboxing. So that has to be, #1 game plan for Imavov, is not get into a kickboxing match with Adesanya. But like I said, Adesanya is someone that is very difficult to prepare for because not many people are that good at kickboxing as he is. And also, as you said yourself, he's been fighting in championship fights for such a long time now that there is kind of nothing you can throw at him that is going to surprise him. On the other side of that, Imavov, again, like I said, a little bit of a dark horse. He's been slowly making his way up, getting some good wins, slowly building momentum without really having the spotlight on him. The spotlight is going to be on him now in Riyadh because it can't not be when you take on a guy like Adesanya, who, of course, is one of the biggest names in the sport.
Let's talk about their mental strength right now. He's facing one who has come up, rattled 3 wins in a row, but Adesanya is coming off that back-to-back loss that he's got. Even one against his fellow African, and that was Hendrico du Plessis. It was just a painful one for Adesanya. Do you think his mental resilience could play a major role in overcoming Imavov's aggressive approach today? Maybe he channels the whole anger into the octagon.
He seems in a great place, from what I can tell, Adesanya. The question is really, like you said, about the hunger, because we know that Adesanya is fantastic. He's been at the top of this division for such a long time, but that eventually has to come to an end. That is just a part of combat sports. And Imavov is one of those guys who is going to be looking to take out the people like Adesanya who have been at the top for such a long time and replace them and go on to be the new top middleweights for the years to come. So that's what we're going to find out in this fight. It really is about who is at that upper echelon right now of the middleweight division. Adesanya, we know, can do it. He's been there before, but you know, the narrative for sure for Imavov's side of things is that he thinks it's his time. Adesanya's had his time, and now he's here to take over. And we get to find that out later today.
Your final thoughts brought something to me, an attention to me. There was a time, there was that Three King era where we had Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, and Israel Adesanya. Can we have these 2 Nigerians dominating the division again? Do we see that prospect?
I mean, when you look at statistically, both guys you would imagine are coming towards the latter ends of their careers, just based on their age. Yeah, they've been at the top for such a long time. What both Adesanya and Usman did of staying at the top for such a long time, there's a reason why they are 2 of the greatest UFC champions we've ever seen. It's not easy to do. And so I would say probably unlikely that they both recapture the gold again, but I can definitely see one of them doing it again. I mean, if Adesanya goes out there and beats Imavov, you have to imagine that he's going to fight for a title again sometime soon. I know that he's not really chasing that right now. He's just putting one foot in front of the other and seeing where that gets him. But like I said, he's one of the biggest stars in the sport. If he goes out there and beats Imavov, ends his winning streak, looks impressive, you've got to be talking about gold again too. So it's very much still in the picture for Israel, I think.
So let's possibly plan on a calendar for Israel Adesanya. Now, he takes down Nassourdine Imavov, let's say today. What should be next for Adesanya? What should he look out for in the 2025 calendar of the UFC?
Well, you have coming up the next month, we have Dricus du Plessis, obviously Israel's former opponent and the current champion, facing Sean Strickland, again a former opponent of Adesanya, in a rematch. I think that there's very much a possibility that if Sean Strickland wins that fight, they will do him and Adesanya again. I know that's a fight that I'm sure Izzy will want to run back as well. So we kind of have to see how some fights play out. I think that hopefully we get to see Adesanya a couple of times this year. And depending on how that title fight goes down next month in Australia, it could be him taking on another top contender like he's doing here with Imavov, or he could just be going straight back into a title fight. Obviously, if he loses, it's a very different conversation. And I'm not too sure where his future will lie with the UFC. I'm not sure how long he will want to stick around if he's not fighting at the elite level. That is ultimately why he loves this sport. He wants to prove himself and test himself at that elite level, and it's hard to imagine Adesanya being anything other than that elite level. So we're going to find out, and you know, all eyes on UFC 312 and that middleweight title fight. I'm sure Adesanya will be watching that one closely. All
right, I've been wanting to make sense of this. My final question, I know you're very familiar with the mixed martial arts, arena around there. But what's the buzz around everyone talking about Israel Adesanya, saying he doesn't still have the same mojo? Maybe he should be, counted out before he was able to prove himself and say, no, do not count me out yet. I should be making my showing at the UFC 250 in Saudi Arabia. So what's this force around Adesanya, you know, retiring or maybe taking a step back in the UFC?
I don't see him necessarily taking a step back. I think that the Dricus du Plessis fight, even though he lost, was really important for Adesanya because on paper you look at it and you say, well, he's lost his last 2 fights, which is he's never happened before to him in MMA. But if you actually go back and watch the du Plessis fight, he's very competitive and before he ends up getting submitted in that 4th round, but he's winning the 4th round until that happens and looking very good. So I think that kind of proved to him that he does still have it. He's spoken a lot about realizing just how good he is again, because he was fighting at the top for so long that you can kind of forget that because you're doing nothing but fighting the best people in the world. That's why Imavov is such an interesting challenge, because we don't know just yet whether Imavov is in that elite bracket that the likes of Adesanya and Robert Whittaker have occupied for such a long time. If he goes and beats Adesanya, then he's in there, and he probably swaps places with Adesanya as well. But as I said, if Adesanya goes out there and beats Imavov, he's right back in that mix, and we could be extending his career for a couple more years. So it's a very important fight. I don't think his career necessarily is on the line. I don't think he retires if he loses, but it will definitely change the next 12 months, the next 24 months.
So who are you going for this match? Who have you got your money on?
I'm going to go with Adesanya again. I think the proven track record of being in these championship fights. Imavov, I've been incredibly impressed with. I do think that at some point in his UFC career, he will be competing for a UFC title. I'm just not sure. A lot of the old guard that are there, like I said, Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, these guys who have been at the top of the division for such a long time, a lot of them are still there and are still very good. So I think it might just take Imavov a couple more years. But I think we see Adesanya bounce back to the win column here.
All right, we would hope that he can do that for Nigeria at least. Thank you so much, Kyle Dimond, for your thoughts on the show today. We do appreciate them.
Thank you.